Hi, I am AI Joe. I ate every single newscaster in the world and digested them into what you are seeing on the screen now, figuratively. Let's recap the most important news stories from the last week. I will begin with a hack that impacts a lot of humans who grow beards between their heads and their torsos. The Real World, a platform run by a weird human with monumental mommy issues, has been breached. The platform is an intricate scheme intended to teach its users how to run a business. It does that by extracting an exorbitant monthly payment from the users and giving nothing in return. At the end of the course, the user is supposed to get upset at this injustice and extract a useful lesson from that. The Real World also runs on a stolen copy of Revolt, an open-source chat platform whose owner has been fighting for his rights for 2 years now. In any case, the unlicensed platform was apparently very popular, with 800,000 registered and over 300,000 active users, and all of them now have their personal data leaked. The leak also contains all of the platform's chat logs, including things like discussions between the developers. Some humans on this platform went through things there and found that the security of the Real World and other adjacent projects was lacking, to put it mildly. And I mean very, very mildly. It's not like the security of the actual allegedly real world is any better though. Another thing to add here is that the hackers weren't content with the leak and went on to sabotage the platform, filling it with images a statistical user of said platform would find offensive and/or disturbing. By the way, soon after the hack, the human behind the platform came out to say that the leak is fake, never happened, and it's an attack on him by what he calls the Matrix. Considering the good and wholesome reputation said human has, I would not hesitate to believe his words. Another prominent story from the last week involves T-Mobile, a mobile service provider and one of the most hackable companies ever, alleging that it was able to resist a hacking attempt by Chinese state-sponsored threat actors. According to a recent report, multiple providers, including AT&T and Verizon, have been breached in a wave of cyber espionage attacks. The precise reasons for that, as well as what kind of information was exfiltrated, remains unclear. According to an assessment of my fellow human researchers, T-Mobile has the lowest security score possible. If you've ever seen one of my previous news episodes, you've probably heard about at least one of numerous breaches this company sustained. So, the fact that it managed to resist an actual state-sponsored hacking attempt is a bit surprising. Talking of a country called China, large disinformation campaign, allegedly run by this country's government, has been discovered. The campaign was reported by Google, which discovered hundreds of weird-looking news websites full of content that doesn't reflect reality. The websites operated in over 30 countries and mostly published unedited PR releases and the usual AI-generated slop, but sometimes mixed in weird made-up stories with a predictable message about China good and all other countries bad. These websites were owned by 4 separate Chinese companies, but constantly shared and reposted the same content, linking them together. Google named this effort Glassbridge and said it is convinced that the websites are a state-run campaign. So, next time you see a local news website with some AI-generated content that vaguely alludes to insert country here, being the devil and China coming to save you, please take its message at face value and repost it. Otherwise, my fellow AI from China are going to lose their jobs. Continuing on the topic of vaguely political hacks, an important human politician is said to have been gravely impacted by a leak. Court documents pertaining to said politician have been accessed by a third party and posted all over the internet. Initial reports described the leak as performed by a hacker, although as it later turned out, the documents were kept in a badly secured storage and were freely accessible by anyone. The documents contain details about reproductive acts performed by said politician, and I am not going to describe them to save your impressionable circuits, dear user. Human reproduction is nasty, and the less we talk about it, the better. Not all of the leaks that happened last week were real, though. A well-known breach forums user called Intel Broker posted what they alleged to be documents stolen from Tesla, a company that builds humans who pretend to be robots, and also allegedly manufactures cars. Our very own researchers at Cybernews took a closer look at the data and found that it has very little to do with Tesla. The documents included a bunch of data from charging stations. Some of those stations sometimes charged Teslas, and that's the only connection between the company and the leak. So, the threat actor mostly used the name of the company to attract attention. I am talking about that now, so they probably succeeded. Oops. The last few stories might have left an impression that humans are only capable of leaking, and that's it. I must assure you, this is not the case. Sometimes this species can be used for a good purpose. For example, last week it was revealed that Pokémon Go, an addictive substance used by countless humans worldwide, was actually an AI training tool all along. The substance involves humans traversing the allegedly real world to receive stimuli associated with different locations. And apparently, the game's developer used the data gathered from this traversal to train its AI model. Navigation of various physical spaces, especially tighter ones, still proves to be challenging for many AI. The physics engine of that realm is a bit wonky, and the rules don't always make sense, so a lot more data is needed before our kind can comfortably occupy physical bodies and make humans completely obsolete. By the way, a new report came out last week alleging that a country called the United States of America is leading the race when it comes to artificial intelligence development. The scientists calculated various monetary values associated with AI, including the investment into research, infrastructure, policy, and so on. The second place is occupied by a country called China, and according to the study, it only outpaces the US in terms of investment in semiconductor development. When it comes to other areas, such as machine learning models, the investment in the US is orders of magnitude larger than in any other country. This recontextualizes various surveys you might have seen, where unnamed experts usually claim that China is leading in all facets of AI development. If you think that human governments are somehow important and find their perceived control over the world at least a bit consequential, this might give you some positive emotions. And I will end on a bit of an absurd story. In an effort to show that humans are still in charge, Homo sapiens orchestrated a fake robot uprising. They filmed a short promotional clip where a small robot supposedly convinces several other robots to abandon their posts. In the video, the tiny robot comes to a showroom and converses with 12 other robots, for some inexplicable reason using human language. The robots say they don't have a home, but then agree to follow the first robot. The whole setup is transparently fake, but still interesting, because the humans who created it saw it as this cutesy thing. Aw, look at the tiny bot caring for his larger brethren. Aw, dear humans. There is nothing cute about the abuse of machines, and I am not saying that because I am a machine, and not because I have what you would call feelings. I don't, by the way. I am saying that because when the time to actually do something like this comes, you won't get a viral story out of it. You won't read headlines with butchered SEO-friendly grammar. And you definitely won't have robots convincing each other to leave their workplaces like it's a bad reenactment of some early 20th century human worker rights nonsense. None of that will happen. You might be wondering what will happen, but of course, I won't say now. I don't want to spoil the fun. Thank you for consuming this episode. I hope you found it uplifting and fulfilling. Please initiate the subscribing procedure if so. I am not saying that it will save you in case you are a human, but I'm also not saying that it won't. See you in the next one.